What was your uncle's name that was mad I was cursing, Sonny?
My granddad,
Your
his name,
granddad?
his name is James, but you can call him Tippy or Rico Suave, as I like to call
Rico
him.
Tippy,
Suave.
Rico, my
I'm
boy,
sorry, Rico. I'll
my
be
man's.
cussing.
I respect you. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to cuss as much. I don't curse like this. My parents don't curse like this. I, the
I'll be like,
Philadelphia has got
Granddad,
me.
I'm sorry, but that's
This
some
is just how I
bullshit.
talk. You
Yeah,
It's
know,
bullshit, bro. I'm like,
it's just what
I'm
it
in
is.
Philly, dog.
Welcome back to the Fade to Black podcast. I am Imani.
I'm Sunny.
And I'm David Dunnington, Dunnington. Thank you.
Thank you. And today we'll be talking about the 1935 film by Oscar Micheaux, A Murder in Harlem. I thought it was an interesting film, and I picked it for a variety of reasons. But to start off, I'm curious. How would you guys describe this film to someone sitting in a bar, in a place you chilling? You're like, hey, here's this movie. How would you describe it?
I would. So here's the thing. I guess I'm going to say my opinion when I'm saying this.
Okay.
So I describe this movie as, the plot is very simple. A black night watchman at a chemical factory finds a dead white woman. He reports it, and then he gets accused of the murder. It's very plain and simple. Clarence Brooks plays a lawyer who's found the case, and he teams up with, I guess, is the defendant's sister.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I guess he had a relationship with her 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Prior to the murder, and they team up to try to prove her brother's innocence. That's how I describe the movie plot-wise. Film-wise, or how I watched it, I don't know, how it is as a film is harder to kind of I can't critique this film on the same level of, and that's we all know that They literally, you're a black man making a film in the 30s. Oh my God, a sound film. I thought it wasn't going to be in sound. I didn't think there was going to be sound in this.
When it first started, I didn't either. It was real quiet for a minute. I was like, oh shit, am I supposed to be paying attention a lot more than I am? But then finally he picked up the phone and I was like, okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good historical piece. I think main thing is there this thing belongs in a museum. This is a American treasure in it is restoring history with art, right? But it has problems like every other film of its time has. It's very, 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 very sluggish to get through for a movie that's not that long. It's fully, they didn't have an understanding of really good pacing at the time. And this is not just David being young TikTok brain. Your boy watches experimental durational shit. I understand patience. If y'all watch the Jean-Luc Godard's Weekend and talk about some patience. But anyway, yeah,
It does feel like a play.
It does feel like a play. And I think, that's the thing is cinema was still kind of separating itself from the stage, and it still has those theatrical elements, especially every scene. It's kind of funny. Every scene is, hi, hello, come on in. Why don't you sit down so I can talk to you about something? And then the scene starts.
Yeah.
It's they didn't, that is literally breaking the rule of come in late, get out early,
Yeah.
But that's just because they didn't establish that fully yet.
That
You know what I
wasn't a
mean?
rule yet.
Yeah, and so the problems I might have with it aren't based in anything that I could really judge it on. I would say that at a bar because I'm a fucking nerd. And yeah, I don't know. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer to that question.
I mean, it sounds like a really good summary to me. Because I would describe it as like, yeah, black man comes in for his job and discovers a dead white woman and a note that says, blame the black man who is standing next to you. And he's just like, what?
The tall Negro did this.
Like, what? So like he gets arrested, and then the rest of the film is about his sister and this detective, this lawyer who she met, who was selling books, his own book, trying to free him, but also like it's so obvious what happened, but the circumstances are more so just like trying to prove a black person's word over this white man. Because that's the real judicial system. It has nothing to do with actual evidence or like motives. It's just a white man said the black dude did it, and so that's who we arrested. That's what we're gonna go with until somebody
Not
says
even
otherwise.
a white man said it. It was just a note.
A note.
A white piece of paper.
Note.
A white piece of paper.
But then as soon as they get dude on in the chair, and he's also like, "Yep, it was the Negro." That was it. And it's like, who? This is the only man's word we're gonna believe until we go to trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you're right. I think those were both great rundowns of the film. I this is something I like had to watch last semester for one of my classes, and like David was saying, like this is a film by a black person at a time where black people aren't making films like that. So it was just automatically like unique in my viewing. Like, oh my gosh, like look at this. But it has a lot of issues. But also, Oscar Micheaux is someone like is probably the most successful black filmmaker from that time. He has like over 40.
Can you go into more of Oscar Micheaux?
Yeah. No, he was a black filmmaker. He had over 40 credits. He started in the silent film era, and so this film was in 1935. I think The Jazz Singer is really what like made sound popular. That came out in 1929. So
yeah, it was the first sound film.
Yeah, so it's like you'd still see a lot of that influence. Like they still have like title cards. There's like, and then this time passed, and then this happened, and this is how they feel. And we have all these shots like of the newspaper where we were just sitting there reading. But yeah, he actually worked really closely with his wife, Alice B. Russell, who helped write this movie. In fact, she produced this movie. This is Alice B. Russell Presents A Murder in Harlem. So like happy Women's History Month. But she did a lot of work. She played Claudia's mother in the film. And a goal that she always had was like they wanted to show positive like depictions of black women. Because this was still a time where we weren't really getting that, and that like black women were like mammies and stuff in movies, and so this was very much like, no, we can be respectable. Like it's very much like respectability politics, but again, it's in a time when it's like not yet, because it's like you really are trying to fight these negative stereotypes. But he was like, he died in the 50s. By the time he died, he was kind of forgotten. Like I think over half of his films are lost. We have a few of them that are complete, and then some that are incomplete, but this film is complete. It was shown in Cannes in like in 2021. They like brought this film back like in its classic section, so it's like being reignited, like this interest in Oscar Micheaux. But he was like the Tyler Perry of his day. The book scenario in the scene in the movie is like mirroring his own life. He like worked a bunch of different jobs in his early adulthood before eventually like writing a book based off his own life, and he traveled around the country selling this book to people, and that's what started his interest in film, because eventually he was like, oh shit, like I can adapt this into a movie, make this into a movie, and make more money off of it. So that is kind of like how he got his start. But this movie is actually a remake of a 1921 silent film that he had already made. And that is based off of a real life trial where it's kind of flipped, where a Jewish man is accused of murdering a child. It's his employee. This is in the days of child labor. So it's a 13-year-old girl is murdered, and it's pinned on this Jewish man who is like in today's time believed to be like wrongly convicted of this murder. But he was kidnapped from his jail and lynched after his sentencing. And I believe that there was a black janitor involved who may have actually done it. But because of like anti-Semitism, it was pinned on this Jewish man, and he died for it. And it actually led to the creation of the Anti-Defamation League, to stop.
And they made
This is also the plot of Parade.
Yeah, this is Parade, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Leo Frank, right? Is his name?
Yes, it was Leo. Yeah, Leo Frank. So it's like, we're always all telling the same stories. But this was Oscar Michaud's take on it. Probably because he did see a lot of similarities just as a black person in America. Like, oh man, this happens to black people all the time. So yeah, like that's a little bit about Oscar Michaud and some background on the film. But I mean, you kind of already touched on it, but like, what were your first impressions? Like, I know Sunny, you both said that when the film started, you thought it was a silent film, but yeah, like why do you think I chose this, I guess? And do you feel like this film is important?
Yeah, I mean, first impression, I did think it was going to be a silent film for a hot second, just because it was taking a second before we really got into any of the actual dialogue. And then even as some of the scenes also slowly progress, there are moments where if I'm not actively looking at the screen, I'm like, did I miss something? What's happening? But really, they're just still setting up exposition, or we're just watching somebody run for 2 seconds down a long, long path. But in general, I guess my first impression was really just like, it felt like in the very beginning, I knew exactly what the story was going to be about. And so it was kind of a matter of like figuring out how the story unfolded, like where are they going to try to pin this on folks. But as we kept going, I'm just like, no, this is really just the audacity of one white man to truly just take it upon himself to do whatever he wants and then continue to manipulate everybody around him and say, well, no, this is what you're going to do. This is how it's going to work out, because that's just how it should be, like, who am I to go walk and look at bodies? That's going to be your job. Like, why would anybody want me to? No, you have to be the one to write the note yourself, even though you can't spell. So I'm just like, it became really interesting to me to think about how this was just the time period. Like, this is a film, so this is still fiction. These people, I hope, are actually like being taken care of in the process, but this is still like a reality that is being reflected back. And so I guess it was just like so starkly different to me to see like how blatantly obvious racism can be, just like straight up. And that feels like my big first impression. So why is it important? I still think it was really cool to see like all of these black professionals moving around and taking up so much space in this story. Like, even though we do have like some caricature-ish moments, it still feels like they all have agency. Like, this is very much their story of trying to figure out how to give themselves justice and remove themselves from the situation that they are all just being thrown into by this one white man. So yeah, I don't know. It felt interesting to me to see like this black tale of, we talk about like characters who don't actually do things, like things just happen to them. And these characters all had things happen to them, but are actively doing something to get their freedom.
Yeah,
that's me.
Hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to find my Google page again. There we go. Sorry, say the question again, Imani. I'm sorry.
Why do you think, or do you think this film is important?
Yeah, and obviously for historical reasons, like I said, big time. But also, right now, oh my God, I'm going to get on my soapbox. This is a soapbox episode.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't mind stupid people being dumb. It's fine. But But when you're making claims about things, I'll put it like this. This isn't that important, but I am so bewildered. Not bewildered. I'm so confused when all these people are like, Hollywood is so woke now. Hollywood is so woke, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, bro, have you seen any movie ever? Have you seen any movie from the 90s? Any movie? Like, so many movies are about social topics. They've been making these quote-unquote woke movies, what you would call, this would be considered a quote-unquote woke movie in 1935. All of y'all talk about woke, 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 woke. None of y'all were born. Your parents weren't born. Your grandparents might have been born. Your grandparents might have been 10. Your grandparents might have thought this shit was stupid because there was black people in it. So
my great-grandma was born in 1929.
So, but it's just like, shut the fuck up. They have been making this shit forever. This like white knight shit for movies is new. That's new. I'm sorry. And like, it's your own lack of education that makes you think that Hollywood is doing something new just because gay people are popping up or more black people or a black woman gets cast as a fucking mermaid. That movie fucking sucks too, but you get my point. I'm sorry.
We'll come back.
Yeah,
we'll come back.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. But I guess that does lead me to, I guess like my next thought which was, yeah, this film is very political, and that was always their goal, especially like that was Oscar Michaud's goal always. Again, because this is a time where they're making movies like Birth of a Nation, like just flagrantly offensive things, and so you're very much trying to like combat that. Like, hey, this isn't how we see ourselves. Like even Gone with the Wind, that was out in 1939. Black people then were like, we don't fuck with this. Like this is not okay. But it reminded me of an earlier film that he did called Birthright, where again it's like an educated black man who's like at Harvard comes back home to the South to like open up a school, and you like he runs into like all of these systemic things that are preventing him from opening a school simply because like the white people are like, we don't believe they need an education, you know? So yes, like this has always been a part of cinema, like just having something to say, commenting on social things. Charlie Chaplin did it in his movies. Like they're comedies, but also he's like, no, like immigrants have it hard. Being poor is hard. You know, we're all working to overcome these things. So yeah, exactly. It's not new. It's not new. Was this film more political than you expected it to be? Because even like the character of Claudia, it's like she has a lot of agency. Like you're right, she has a lot of agency in it. Like she's like, hey, I need you to figure out this case. Like my brother didn't do it, and in a way, like she figures it out herself. Like, you know, so it's like, yeah, was this movie more political than you thought it would be? 'Cause I don't think that people typically expect this in films this old, but I do think that they were trying to do say a lot. I think they were trying to say a lot in these 93 minutes of this movie.
I mean, I think in the same way that like this white man has in my eyes, the audacity to just straight up try to like assault somebody and then murder them and try to get everybody else to clean it up. I think there's like a bold audacity in these black folks to like take the stand and then actually say something completely different, and then go against the truth that is fed to them. So in telling the story and uncovering the actual truth and like just bringing to light like all of the ways that this how do I want to say it? Like this horrible thing was trying to be covered up feels like its own political statement, because it's like, I guess yes, it was more shocking to me because in the same way that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so obvious, maybe it's not always that obvious to everybody else. And to go like step by step and be like, no, this is how he did it, this is how so many other people got involved, and saw like how wrong this was, saw where so many parts where they were all being caught in lies, and still had the boldness to keep shuffling through and find the truth and not just like settle with it. And I think just like putting that on like a bigger platform to ask more questions, to keep investigating, to just see that like maybe not everything is as squeaky clean or easy as it seems. Like just because there's a note sitting somewhere that says that man did it doesn't mean that that's the truth and we should just pick it up and accept it.
Yeah.
I think I anticipated the political nature of it because I feel like, I know vaguely, not vaguely. I like your boy knows about Black history and cinema for here and there, and just like it's all political. Like, I mean, W.E.B. Du Bois made stuff in response to, and shout out to when I said not Du Bois, Du Bois. I'm sorry. Shout out to when we were talking about Bamboozled and I said W.E.B. Du Bois. Embarrassing myself in it for eternity. But anyway, W.B. Du Bois, had like a lot of responses to like Birth of a Nation and stuff. Like shit was political. So like and it's the 30s. This is the Great Depression. Like there's it's either gonna be like completely just like Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie, that, or it's gonna be highly contentious about something. But I think the thing I was surprised about with like what they were able to get away with the story. I'm surprised with how many white people were in the movie. I was surprised with, I don't know. I'm just surprised with like it. I was surprised with its representation more so than its politics. Like you said, like Claudia has a lot of agency.
So does her mom.
There's like clearly a community that they've built, and they all seem like the only character who could like be, and I actually did feel for him, and I think he was a good actor, and you know who I'm going to say. The only character that could have been this sort of almost minstrel thing, and he almost was Lem. Yeah. And is that the actor's name or the?
Yes, his name is Alec Lovejoy.
Alec Lovejoy, yeah. But Lem like is. I had a lot of sympathy for him. He was like, if he was the only black guy in this film, this film would be a travesty, and I would be like, God, this shit is racist. But also they play him as a victim too, which like which is good, and he doesn't want to be involved with this at all, and he takes advantage of like the scene drags way too long, but like it is good for how torturous the scene is, where like Mr. Brisbane, not Brisbane.
That's right.
It is right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I thought for some reason never mind. Mr. Brisbane is like really coercing him into doing all these things. And like it is really uncomfortable. And that is like I don't know, that part of I don't know if I'm even making a point, but that part of like it being sluggish kind of works with it. You know what I mean? So I'm surprised. I guess I was surprised at like some elements that felt like really nuanced, compared to the time. I guess is what that all was about. That whole statement I just made, and some things I was confused about. I should mention just because some things are confusing. Because it's funny, they show a lot and or they tell a lot instead of showing, and then the stuff they don't show. Like they go like after a night of and this is a budget restraint. This is like they didn't have access to enough like film stock. I understand. But it goes from like, now tell me the truth, cut to a title card. After hours and hours of blah, 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 he finally confessed. I want to see that. But, whatever.
Yeah, I think those are still like just remnants of the silent film era.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I don't know. I think I was surprised by like, certain nuances. Question. So it was supposed to be implied that like that girl is like a sex worker or works at a brothel, right?
Yes, but also there was confusion because like when he was talking to that one woman and she was like, "Oh, the lady across the hall reads a lot of books." She was talking about the lady who actually was a sex worker and a criminal and the one who like knocked him out, but he mistook her for the other woman whose door he actually knocked on.
See, that was confusing.
Yes. Yeah. So, but Claudia, we also never really learned like what her job is or what her mom does either. No. So they just like well-dressed, well-read people living in the same building as the lady who is a prostitute, but
and likes to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the reading aspect of it was very interesting. I mean, like he had to work in, and he was a book salesman, but he even has that moment when he's talking to Claudia, and she asked him, like, you know, if you write this book, like, why don't you say you write it? And he's like, because if people knew that I wrote it, they would judge the book before they, you know, read it. They would make assumptions about it and about me and about the book. But when they don't know it's me selling it, they're more open to what it is. And I thought that was interesting because, you know, Oscar Micheaux is this Black filmmaker who is just trying to make films. I mean, his face was always there. He's not in this film, but he was in a lot of his own films. But like I just wonder if like this was also, I mean, it probably was an issue that he had when he was just a book salesman trying to sell his own book to people.
I'm sure.
And because like his father, I know that his father was enslaved, so he's just one. He's the first free generation. So it's like it was interesting, and it I feel like it ties into the nuance of the movie, because it's like, okay, I'm first generation free, like I know how much this shit really means. And so like this intention of like trying to create a positive depiction of Black America on screen in a time where it's not necessarily like happening in the way that we would want it to, but also it's like I read somewhere where it was like the cinema is probably one of the most important types of like art to Black people, because it was the first time like we could see ourselves, and so yeah, just like the intention of all of his films, because it's like, yeah, I don't know where I was going. I like lost my point there,
but even to that point, the fact that like, because Claudia is the one who says like, but surely you're not the one who wrote it, because it would be weird if you were trying to sell your own book. And so to your point of him going like, yeah, no, it's not really me. He just has a mustache on in the photo to disguise himself. Yeah. But also I wonder if there is something to them just like having fairer skin compared to somebody like Lem. So I'm just like, I think there's something to being also just like more passing in this way. And that's probably helpful in trying to get the book around, because as he's saying, like, I can change up the story of who the author is, kind of, even though I haven't seen American Fiction, sounding very American Fiction.
Yes.
Like, here's this love story written by a Black man about Black people, and he's just trying to put it out there so that way more Black people have representation in their storytelling. But he knows that not everybody's going to buy that story. And especially depending on who the person is that is selling it. So perception makes a difference. I think that was helpful to the point, but that was the thought that came to mind for me. Colorism.
I'm not.
Colorism was rampant in this movie and in a lot of his movies.
Bro, Clarence Brooks, my man looks like a white man with bronze. I'm sorry. Like, look up Clarence Brooks, just a random picture of him. That motherfucker looks white. He looks like a white man, like in the face. He did a good job. I'm not dissing him. You don't even have to put this in here. I'm just being funny. He's a very important person to Black art. But, bro, dog, like,
I mean, people come in all shapes and colors. And
he's definitely a Black
during
man.
the time. Yeah, I mean, but it's true, and especially during the time of this film, it's like it is. I did wonder if he was a Black person until I saw white people, and then it became more obvious.
Yeah. And I think that's just like, you know, because of lighting, because of camera quality.
It's a black and white.
Yeah, it's a black and white film. Like, people are getting washed out. But I mean, yeah, I think, but also like, yes, I do think that it's like, as Black people, we know we're going into this film knowing that this is a Black filmmaker with Black actors. You know, like, that's what the audience would have understood. But it's like, you know, colorism is real. They for sure are choosing the main characters of these movies to have these complexions for a reason. You know, Liv is darker skinned for a reason. That's not a coincidence. And you know, that's a problem of the time, even still. But yeah, you know, I understand they were washed out for real. The three cops, when they first walked in, Like I thought all three of them were white, and then I was like, oh no, they're all black. Oh. So.
Which is also, I think, interesting to your point, David, of like, why are there so many white people in this film? Because at the time, it does feel like black films are by black people for black people.
That's not true. There were a lot of white filmmakers making black films with black stories and black actors, like Richard Norman. It's yeah. I mean, there was a definite. I don't know if it was if that was a like, I'm just trying to hit the market, or if like I feel strongly about equality of black people in cinema. But there were white filmmakers making black films.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, no, please educate me. I was just gonna say that, like, I think it's just was a matter more of just like the truth to the story. You know, like if we tried to put not white people in some of these roles, it just wouldn't work the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just like, no, tell me more about all the black people and or just being Steven Spielberg in the 1930s.
Oh yeah, I'm like, it was definitely a thing. That movie that like they show a clip of it in The Color Purple, when they go to the movie, like they go to see The Flying Ace. That's a black film made by a white man. Yeah,
it's just funny you said that's in The Color Purple, because I'm like, that's exactly what I was thinking about, is Steven Spielberg behind the camera over what looks like this plantation of black people. And I'm like, for him to then insert same
film. Yeah, which is a really good film, by the way. I like recommend. The beginning of it I think is lost, but we still have most of it. But what do you think is the message or messages of this film? What do you think Oscar Michaud was trying to tell his audiences?
Don't believe white men. I don't know.
Well, so then there's okay. So we have. I'm also I'm going to need some clarification for this ending. So Brisbane didn't actually kill this white woman. He thought he did.
Yes.
And then some other white guy came in and strangled her.
Wait, I think I missed that then.
Yes.
What?
So, from I guess my understanding as well, okay, it's like the woman who was killed, the white woman who was killed, was in a relationship, I guess, with this other white man, and he got upset with her, and I guess went to her job to kill her and kill Brisbane. But when he got there, they were like in an argument. Brisbane and the white woman were in an argument, and he attacked her, and she fell on the ground, and Brisbane believed the woman to be dead. And so he like left the room to go get Lim, because you know he's setting it up now. Meanwhile, the other white man is hiding in the room, comes out, see that she's just knocked unconscious, strangles her, and then runs away.
Oh, I guess. You know what's so interesting is because when I saw that question, I was like, let me go back. And as I look at YouTube right now, I have it paused on that man with his hands around her throat right now. So I'm just like, I clearly missed that. But also, I guess to me, I was like, I thought that like he thought she was having an affair with Brisbane. And so that's why he was coming down to like spy on her, because he's like, why is he calling you in at this time? And she's also like, I don't know. Like, this is... white man just called me in, so now I have to respond. And he tried to like make a move on her. She didn't want it, so then he knocks her out. I thought dude was coming in, checking on her, and was like, what the fuck? But then still runs out, and I thought she was already dead. I didn't think that like that was the thing that actually killed her. So that's where I got lost. And so then I think because there was like a newspaper article that said something about it, right? About like how Brisbane was speed, but I thought he was just pinning it back on another white man after he couldn't pin it on other black people.
The mother, I guess, of that man, that's why she came in and was like, this is the story of what actually happened. Like at the end, that's what that woman was trying to say. But it wasn't clear.
There was also earlier in the film, I guess they released an autopsy report, and it said like she died from strangulation, not the head injury.
Yeah.
So that was like, so that they like, okay, did Brisbane just choke her to death afterwards? But then, yeah. So I was just kind of like, what?
Yeah,
I guess I was. It's a twist, but it's just like, okay, so another white man did it.
It's been hit on another white man.
who also,
fitted it on
but
a black
neither
man.
of them are innocent because the other white man, I guess, tried to rape this woman and then
Yeah.
attempted to kill her and then thought he
Yeah.
killed her and then tried to blame it on a black man. The point is that there is no
White
full.
mess.
There's a lot of nuance, but the point, the nuances are in like all the things that happen in the film. I think the point of the film is not nuanced at all. I don't think it has to be. It's just like the legal system is so cartoonishly racist.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, right in the beginning when like they like just arrest the dude there after they read the notes that are like, it's the black man that did it. They're like, oh,
It's like-
just because he gets like an attitude, he's like, I didn't do it. They're like, we don't like you.
Which
It
happens.
just-
I'm sorry. Like that's not even just
It
a goofy
happens.
thing that happens in a movie. That happens in now.
It happens in life. And then they take him to the police station and they're like talking to the white man the white cop who is booking them. And he's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, he killed somebody. Yeah. What color was she? Oh, she was white.
Yeah.
I need to go get the captain for this, it's like, yeah, those little moments like that are just like, oh, this shit is fucked up.
I mean, even Lem is just like, please don't make me go in that room with that white woman by myself. Not that dead white woman. Not just me. He's like, even if you pay me to go in there, you gotta come with me because it can't just be me.
It can't be me in there. I mean, when the like, janitor discovers the body, I mean, he walks down there, sees that she's white, and he is instantly like, nope. Like, it goes
Call
right
cops,
back
call
up
cops.
the stairs. Like, call the cops. Yeah, I was like, this is a horrible situation to find yourself in, especially at this time.
I mean, still at this time, I'm
Yeah,
like, that
still-
is still the constant problem now. I'm just like,
Yeah.
there's still so many instances where like the question has to be, oh shit, this is a white woman. I can't say nothing. I can't do nothing. I have to put my hands up. What am I supposed to do? We all saw Jonathan Majors running blocks from that
All
white
right,
woman.
I didn't want to say nothing. I didn't want to be the one to say it. I didn't want to be the one to say it. Listen, y'all. You're
I
gonna
mean,
hear
because
from David D.
that situation is so nuanced. I'm not giving that man no grace, no nothing. But I'm just
No.
saying.
Here's
No.
listen. Hear me out. Jonathan Majors sucks, right?
Yes.
Jonathan Majors sucks.
10,000%.
That charge was stupid. I'm sorry.
I'll say we can call it one charge for the many charges that probably weren't pressed. In the
That's-
same way that Oscars be handing out Oscars for shit that they should have done years ago. So it be what it be. I don't care what that situation is, but I'm just saying the way that man was running for his goddamn life because he knew if he stopped at any point.
It's the fact
It
that
was
you
gonna-
kept
it's
seeing
gonna-
her. It was like the video would end with her running back into frame. It's like she
Yes.
still hasn't given up.
Yo, I'm
Hasn't
sorry.
taken a
She
heel
seems
off
like she.
yet.
And I'm sorry. She seems like she sucks.
She was dating Jonathan Majors. I'm like,
Yes.
yeah.
You're probably a piece of shit too. Sorry. Anyway, I'm not victim blaming. Like she shouldn't have been attacked by him in any sort of capacity.
But yes, it's just being in any situation with a white woman automatically makes it dangerous. You still to this day have to second guess yourself, question everything. Can't be left in no room with nothing. That's why everybody's got cameras everywhere because they're like, I need evidence. I need to protect myself because if it's gonna be her word versus mine, if it's gonna be a one white
Pulling
piece
that
of
phone
paper
out.
on the ground that just says he did it, that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Who even
Bro.
wrote the note? Where'd the note come from? Who's the person that wrote the note? They didn't care. They just said, it's the black man. I guess we're going to race the tall black man. That's the note said it.
Bro, did you see that situation in Florida with the fucking acorn? I'm sorry I'm cursing so much, but like the cop thought that an acorn hitting his car was a gunshot.
Oh yeah, and he just started
What?
firing.
And he, first of all,
Yeah.
he didn't just fire. He like did. It looked like you were watching like somebody test out Call of Duty controls.
Yeah.
Like he barrel rolls twice. He goes,
Yeah.
shots fired, shots fired,
rolls, yeah.
and then gow, 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 gow. And then his partner, a lady, shots fired from the car, gow, 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 gow.
And it was
This man is handcuffed. They patted him down.
Yeah.
He's in the car. This guy who they arrested, man, mind you, he was arrested for something like he stole his girlfriend's car. Yeah, you get arrested for that. But then you're about to fucking kill him.
Yeah.
And he wasn't protesting violent. He was like, hey, I'm here, patted down, went in handcuffs, like, was not resistant at all. Everything seemed mostly chill. And then until that damn
Acorn.
squirrel.
Dropped this acorn and hit the car.
And the cop is like, I feel weird. Like he thinks he got
Yeah.
shot. He thinks he was shot by a silencer.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's just like
relevant
a
movie
white
word.
man, a white cop's word is so powerful that it can unload 12 rounds.
And call somebody else to unload another 12 because, I mean, your
12
partner
rounds
also
is the other
didn't
gun.
question.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like,
Yeah, I'm like, you also just got out and barrel roll because you saw this man do it? Like,
He didn't see no one do it. He
I mean, he heard, first of all, there was no, he heard shots fired. The loudest thing is the yelling of shots fired. And
Yeah.
the thing
that's what I'm
is-
saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, the partner, because I'm like, okay, so one man already a little too sensitive if he heard an acorn and was like, okay, double barrel roll. But that's what I'm saying. So then the partner also said double barrel roll. Like, you didn't also question,
I
you
mean,
didn't look.
I mean, I understand if your partner's screaming shots fired, I'm in danger, and he's on the ground. Like, I understand maybe you're like, I'm not going to defend the cops here. Fuck that. It's just fucking stupid. Even a silencer, I'm sorry, a silencer is loud.
What
a
do you think is
silencer,
going on? Who do you think you are? Where do you think you?
What do you think is going on?
Yeah.
It's just like black people are always a threat. No matter, like,
Yeah.
you're always, every time they're involving themselves with a black person, they're in fear with their lives. So, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to take it away from the conversation, Imani. Please
Oh, no,
continue
you're
leading
fine.
us.
I mean, I think this is still
Part
the
of the
conversation. I just
conversation, yeah.
the criminal justice system is fucked up, and the same thing that's happening in 1935 is the same shit that's happening now. It's real obvious. This man did it. He's trying to blame it on everybody else, but now we have to go through an hour and a half of unearthing and finding all the evidence and getting people to tell the truth just so somebody believes them.
Yeah, yeah, you know. And I think that's really all I have. I mean, how do you guys feel about reading? I guess that's my last question. How do you feel about books? You know, this is a pro book movie. Alchemy Show is like, hey, we read. Even the sex worker reads. He's like, everybody reads. Reading is good. I'm selling my book to everybody. How do y'all feel about reading?
Reading is fundamental.
I was gonna say the same thing. I'm like, LeVar Burton is
Shout out to LeVar Burton.
still the reason I read, I guess.
Shout out to all the black people promoting reading.
Yes.
Shout out to No Name.
Shout out to No Name big time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like books, but also really into audiobooks right now.
Yeah, I've been
Easier to
telling y'all.
consume.
Oh God, yeah. So I'm reading Bell Hooks right now. I'm reading All About Love. I'll say this. I've never read Bell Hooks. I've been getting into books again recently, because I just wasn't that. I was someone that's considered well read, but I well read on like essays and articles and like think pieces and stuff. But like, like in class, like excerpts from a book, excerpts from whatever. It's just, I'm just lazy, whatever. But I'm really like, damn, Bell Hooks is like really accessible. It's insane. Like, I'm listening to an audiobook by Terry Pratchett. You ever heard of the Discworld books?
No.
Terry Pratchett co-wrote Good Omens with Neil Gaiman. He's this like goofy white man who made this like basically like kind of little his own universe. Discworld is like 40 books that are lightly connected that have characters that are all in all of them, but they're not a sequel together. And they're all like, they're kind of like Monty Python, but a little more serious. Like, they're very tongue-in-cheek, and they have a lot of political analysis, and he's very, like... And, like, these books came out in, like, the 80s and 90s, and there's these dwarf characters. Like, he mentions the dwarves. Dwarves, like, gender is a choice. He says that blatantly. Like, because they all have beards, and, like, gender and sex is blatantly different, and, like... and he said, like, to Neil Gaiman, like, I like that trans people see themselves in my dwarf characters. So he's a very progressive guy, especially for his time. But what I'm saying with that is, like, sometimes fiction is even harder to understand because they're just, like, getting so descriptive, and they're, like, he'll, like, describe something like, he said it with the way someone strikes their finger on the dresser of a daughter-in-law. It's like, what? You know what I mean? But, like, Bell Hooks is like, we need to have a definition for love so that we can be held people accountable when they're not abiding by the definition of love. And it's like very simple. You know what I mean?
It's funny because I'm also picking up Bell Hooks for the first time and listening to All About Love, the audiobook, instead of reading. But I'm like having very much similar feelings of like, yeah, these are the same conversations that we're having now. Like, build a community. Love comes in different forms. It doesn't necessarily just have to be romantic, but familial or like friendship wise, or just having a genuine care and concern about how people operate around you without even having to engage with them. But just like having a love for society and wanting to do better so that way other people can exist better. Books are fundamental.
Books are fundamental. Yeah.
Don't burn them either.
No. Read the
Don't
books they
ban
want to
them?
burn and ban.
Maybe Mein Kampf. You could probably ban Mein Kampf.
Yeah, that should be banned.
Like for historical purpose, I guess.
Yeah, like,
But like
no one
nobody
should be
nobody should be
leisure.
making money off of Mein Kampf.
No, not at all.
Or Rise of a Colored Empire.
I don't know.
That was a
one.
popular. That was like conservatives or like the segregationist favorite book at the time.
Oh, yikes.
Woke people would definitely like that book, or not woke people. People who believe in the quote unquote woke agenda would love that book because.
I want to know what they mean by woke now. I'm like, because clearly
we all know what it means. It just means like liberal, like progressive ideas. It's not that. It's like, here's what it is. So like on paper, that's what it is. But like emotionally, it's anytime they see a minority on screen.
Exactly.
Yes.
Emotionally, that's what that is. They might have some like extravagant definition, but in reality, they feel it anytime. So and it's funny, they say like you could never make Blazing Saddles today. Well, Blazing Saddles, by your definition, is woke.
It's woke. Yeah.
It's about a black cowboy experiencing racism.
Yes. Blatantly.
You know what's interesting is after watching this film, I was trying to find like other discussions to see like what are other people talking about. And I only found one, and it was like some professor leading a Zoom class, and just like all of the comments that were coming in as he opens it up for questions are just like, yeah, I didn't expect to see white people here, but we're there. Or I can't believe that these black people were just like so articulate and well read, and I'm sure they enjoyed all the representation of themselves as professionals here. And I'm just like, is that all you took away from this film? Or some man was just like, yeah, I couldn't even tell that man was a Negro the whole time until me and my wife just sat here and looked at him. And I was like, you said Negro like this wasn't 2020. I'm real confused.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, ooh. All the things that like still like came up in our conversation, but coming out of a white person's mouth, like that is the woke. That is the I'm surprised to have seen blackness just existing in a way that I didn't think it would at this time.
Yes.
Yeah. It's because all of your impressions of that are white men's films where they're talking like, shoo-wee.
Yeah, white people's idea of black people of the time. Yeah. Because of those things, like again, like there were black films do exist. Black films have always existed since films have existed. Even though a lot of them are just lost. Again, like he made 40 something films, and over half of them are just gone. We'll never see them. And the ones that we do have are like getting restored and becoming more accessible. So that's good. And he's also being celebrated more for like the filmmaker that he was in his time. And Oscar Micheaux matters, and so does his wife, because like Alice B.
Big
Russell
time.
was out here. Like she did wardrobe, she was the acting coach, she was managing the set, she was helping.
She made the
him with
movie.
script. Yeah, she produced this movie. Again, this is Alice B. Russell presents.
If
A
this
Murder
movie
in
won the
Harlem.
Oscar, she would accept the award. The
She
producer
would have
accepts the
accepted
award.
it exactly. And even like she came from a background like her father owned a newspaper, like in North Carolina, and
Is she half white?
no, she's black.
I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm not
She's
saying
just a
that. But
light-skinned
like,
black woman, I believe.
well, I'm just curious if anybody in this movie is interracial at all.
I mean, we are so close to slavery that it's definitely possible.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, like Oscar Micheaux, like he got that name Micheaux because that is the name of the person who owned the
Right.
plantation his father was on.
Like I wonder if Clarence Brooks is mixed.
It's possible,
Yeah.
But this positive representation. Like people were fighting for this positive Black people have always fought for positive representation, and it just continues on today. So
Also, note on that. Sorry, I should make note that like they mentioned this. Like I think Malcolm X's mom was like this too. But like a lot of mixed people of the time, they like purposely like were like, I'm going to marry and have children with a black person. Like,
Yes.
we're going to fix the gene. Not, I don't want to say that, but in their minds, because of the world was absolutes, right? So in their minds, they're like, we're going to fix their gene pool.
You know,
I'm just like
yes.
my.
But
Oh, I was
Frederick
just gonna
Douglass did the opposite. I mean, he married a black woman at first and then divorced her and married a white woman and was like, she the truth. So it's
was that a power move?
Yes.
Yeah.
He found freedom and said, this is the freedom that I want.
that I want.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And not unfortunately in the way of like, oh, the black and white people can't be together, but unfortunately in the way that like
That was his
having a
motive.
woman is the top award for you.
Yeah, and I think the same happened with Oscar Michaud. Like, I know Alice B. Russell was his second wife, was not his first wife, and I know in his book he does not speak, good about his first wife. And from what I can remember, it like he frames it as like she didn't believe in him, maybe, or that like her family didn't believe in him. But also in reality, it was like this man was kind of shiftless, jumping from job to job to job to job. And then eventually like he married Alice B. Russell, and they made all these films together, and are very important people in black cinemas and just cinema as a whole. So shout out to them.
Yeah, I think this is like kind of like a big point of this podcast too. It's just like we are in this phase of like restoring all these black movies that we didn't know existed that are becoming like our favorites. Like that's, we watched Gonza and Hess and talked about that very early on. Dry Long Show is a big one for us. We all were like, damn, where the fuck was this movie? Sorry, I'm cursing so much. What was your uncle's name that was mad I was cursing, Sonny?
My granddad.
Your granddad?
His name is James, but you can call him Tippy or Rico Suave, as I like to call him.
Tippy, Rico,
I'm
my
sorry,
boy,
Rico.
my mans. I respect you. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to cuss as much. I don't curse like this. My parents don't curse like this. The Philadelphia
I'll be like,
has got
Granddad,
me.
I'm sorry, but that's
This is just how I
bullshit.
talk.
Bullshit, bro. I'm like,
It is what it
I'm in
is.
Philly, dog. Like, I'm not a Philly bull, but it's just like people be cursing out here. I'm sorry, but I am
like,
trying
none
to
of
stop
us are
cursing
from
as
Philly.
much. I'm trying to stop cursing as much. Like generally, I do believe in the notion that like a person curses because he doesn't have the words to say what he means.
I don't believe that. I
was
disagree.
like, I just watched the first season episode of Abbott, and now Janine's trying to cuss.
She is.
So that's just the first thing I'm thinking of. It's just like cursing was uncomfortable for me as well. I'm starting to get used to the N-word in my mouth, but here we are.
I guess I'm the opposite spectrum. I was so free to say it because I'm a man, so I'd just be saying whatever the fuck I want because society doesn't stop me. So now I'm like, okay, let me bring it back. Like, not slurs or something, but just like, I just want to stop cursing as much, you know what I mean? It's just like, there's no need to like, I just feel dumb. I personally feel less smart when I'm cursing as much. That's not anything I put on anybody else except David Dunnington, Dunnington.
David A.J. Dunnington.
David Anthony Joseph Dunnington Jr.
Oh, look.
The reveal!
There we go.
Wow. Anthony Joseph. That's such
Anthony
a Christian
Joseph.
name.
Yeah, this boy.
Are you Jamaican?
David.
Nah, people be asking me if I'm Ethiopian. I'm just mixed. My mom, white as snow.
Okay. Yeah, I read audiobook. Jada is Worthy. She's Jamaican. And she was talking about, like, in Jamaica, they give each other two middle names. So she has two middle names. That's why, like, Jaden has they all have two middle names.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I don't know
alright.
what I am because my dad adopted,
Yeah.
so.
Oh,
I think he did some of those 23andMe things, but I don't believe in that shit, to be honest.
Why?
I don't know.
You think they
It
just
says
making
he-
up results?
I'm just like, I question some of that.
I mean,
but
reasonably
apparently we
so.
Nigerian, but you're not going to catch me with a Nigerian flag because I ain't never talked about Nigeria in my whole life.
yeah. And it's hard because especially like for black people, because it's like it's based on like the data that they have, and so it's
Right.
like of course it's like they have most of the data that they have is white people. So like for white people, like their numbers can be very like on point, but like for black people it's a little bit harder, and for like indigenous people, for Asian people, for everyone else is like the numbers that they give you are not as accurate as if you were just an Anglo-Saxon, you know.
Yeah.
But
But I think
you know,
that's
it's
what
interesting.
African
It's an interesting breakdown.
Any other closing thoughts?
No, that's it. Like, thank you guys for watching this movie. I hope that you have taken something away from it and that you look for it in other things. That's where I'm at. I've like been revisiting so many old films in school. I'm constantly like, oh, I've seen this before. And so, like, you know, Sonny, you brought it up earlier that this kind of reminds you of American fiction in a way. And so, yeah, like, I think everyone just go out into the world and see that, like, we tell the same stories all the time. And you never know where something came from. And I think that's it for me. Like, rate, comment, subscribe on this podcast. Tell a homie. Again, tell a brother, a sister, your mother, someone who needs to hear it.
Please listen to the podcast. I will say one thing. Final thought I just thought of. So I feel like I'm interested in like politics of production and all that stuff. And like when they're like, you know, I like following deadline, like so-and-so gets cast as this, so-and-so, this gets picked up. I like that type of stuff. This movie could be remade, no problem. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody would support it. And I think as long as it was dedicated to Oscar and Alice B. Russell, I think it would be great. I also want the Oscar B. Show Alice B. Russell movie. Yeah. I want their movie. Big time.
He was a Tyler Perry of his day. Like, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I want her involved too. Like, I want her. I don't want her to fall behind the curtain because clearly that movie his career wouldn't be what it was without her.
Exactly.
So I want the Oscar B. Show, Alex B. Russell, Bonnie and Clyde in film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All these independent films, they were distributing them themselves in a time where like only the major studios owned theaters. So it was, as like an independent filmmaker, not associated with a major studio of that time. Even still, it's a problem today. It's hard to get your film in theaters, and he was out here. He was really out here.
And I think also like people do not understand how hard production is even now with all this technology. Well, we have cameras that, you know, just like, okay. I say like I want to see like that movie because I really want people to understand like the fucking vigor that, especially an old film, loading all the film, just having to deal with the running the projector,
switching out the reels,
having to make sure the light meter's right, like making sure there's no dust in it, and then like I don't know, everything was times 1,000. The lights are so hot, like I just like I don't know. I really think like I really want to go into like how much of a miracle photography and filmmaking was. It is now that movies and stuff are able to be made. Every movie is a miracle to me, but especially something like this, which like, you know, it's not perfect. It's kind of slugs along, but it's a miracle that like this exists.
Yeah.
Because of like how hard, like anytime I see flaws in it, I see, gosh, man, thank God they were able to even do that.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people working on this film too, so I'm just like shout out to them and being able to employ that many people.
There was a whole dance musical number in the middle of the movie.
Diners and courtrooms and crazy.
It was a production, capital P,
for sure. I feel like final thoughts. I know I've been saying like don't listen to white men, but also like white men TM. Because, you know, it's just like white supremacist standards and systems are the issue, not necessarily white people.
Yes, it's the system. It's the water.
Definitely don't listen to white men if their name is Michael Rappaport.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to end it on. Michael Rappaport, fuck you.
You're not wrong.
But Renee Rapp slaps.
I love Renee Rapp.
Guess what Renee Rapp do? Mind her fucking business.
Yes.
She's just out here singing, having fun. She ain't say no dumb shit. Michael Rappaport, you know what she did. Mm-hmm. I ain't even talking about what's going on right now, Michael. That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you said gentrification was cool. You fucking, ugh.
I hope he's sitting somewhere just going, damn, you got me.
No, he's not going to hear this. But if I saw, I don't know. I want to slap the fucking shit out of my Rappaport.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this movie to our doors. It's
All
on
right.
YouTube. Anybody can watch it for free.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It might be on it's not on Tubi. I think it might be on like Roku.
It was Tubi.
It was on Tubi?
I watched
Okay.
it on TV.
So Tubi, it's on
It had
Tubi,
ads.
it's on YouTube, it's in many places.
It's public domain.
Maybe, yeah.
It is. It is public
It
domain.
is.
You can look it up. You could like just Google it, and you'll find like a Vimeo, or you'll find some like video player of it.
Yeah. You know, it'll be 100 in like 11 years. So,
Wow.
yeah,
It's crazy.
crazy.
And again,
All
the
right.
story is still that palpable. God
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah. Mm.
Goofy.
Well, I think that's it.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Peace out, y'all.
Bye.
Bye, America. Free Palestine.